So fantastic. We have Mathilde from Alma and Bramble. Thank you for joining us and giving the students their challenge.
You're welcome.
You want to tell us in a couple of sentences what it is you guys are trying to achieve?
Yes. So Alma and Bramble is an e-commerce site where people can go and buy unique limited editions from emerging and independent designers and labels. On top of being an e-commerce site, which there are other similar businesses. So we're not unique in that way, but then we want to have a sales campaign every month where we release a specific item. It could be 10 dresses, it could be 50 pieces of some item, and then that would be a campaign for a week perhaps. We would have a countdown, and then it would be open for sale, for example, 2 days only.
Cool. So the first thing the students are going to be thinking about is the nature of your resource profile. So in terms of who you think you need to know in order to succeed going forward, where do you think you're placed with that?
So fashion designers. To actually get our site up and running properly, we need to get a lot of fashion designers on there, and they also have the knowledge that we at the moment don't have as two co-founders. We also need to talk with the industry professionals who understand how it works in the fashion industry, whereas the new designers or independent labels, they might not have the broadness of the experience that someone else who have worked 50 years in the industry have.
Cool, and so that leads into the second question, which is, what specific knowledge do you think you need?
Yes, so definitely knowledge around standards and ways of doing things in the fashion industry. So for example, sizing is different around the world depending on culture and country. So that is a challenge that we'll face, and we need to know those things. So that's why we need to talk with industry professionals.
Cool. And if I had a magic wand and I could give you access to any kind of resources, what would you most want?
Investment.
Okay. So and that's purely to advance the technological platform, or?
Yeah, it's to allow us to actually keep working on Alma and Bramble, and we would ideally so we're in the Collider Accelerator at the moment. After we finish at the end of August, we would like to have investment, so we have runway of 18 months. So it's basically to free up time to focus and spend our time on developing the business.
Cool. In terms of legitimacy, the guys will be thinking about two things here. The first one is cognitive legitimacy. When you are out and about and you're talking to people, do you think that there's cognitive legitimacy around the nature of your idea? Do you have people unsure of what it actually is you're trying to achieve, or do you think the notion of selling clothes in this way online is something that sort of has that taken for granted aspect these days?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to online shopping and you say you have an e-commerce site or web shop, most people would understand that. But the concept of what we're doing, going into the details of that can sometimes complicate things. So not only is it an e-commerce store where people can buy 24/7, but then we have those limited edition releases where you can only buy that one item with us for that short period of time. And then we have the community part, which is going to build up trust, and we can tell stories and actually get a network that we can start working with and use also for sales. So that complexity can be hard, but when it's just an e-commerce site, then people will understand.
Cool. And then the second half of that equation is the socio-political legitimacy. That's referring to the extent to which society in general approves of this type of idea.
Yes. So we tap into a movement called slow fashion, which is basically, some of you might have heard about fast fashion, which is mass production. You often don't know where your clothing is produced, maybe child labor was involved. So we're tapping into the slow fashion movement, and there is support for that because it has a positive impact on the environment. You also support local artists or designers. So not only is the industry interested in that, but also the makers.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of this market and your investigation and sort of playing around in it so far, do you think you have a good handle on how new ideas come into that space and succeed, what it actually is that selects for or against new ideas, and what sort of things just get retained in that space?
Yeah, so first when we focused on emerging only, we found that a lot of people have tried to get emerging fashion designers into the market. But now we have reached out because emerging is just not a big enough market for us to focus on to be able to sell enough and have the volume we want. So we have reached out to its upcoming independent designers as well. And I think we do understand the environment. We've done a lot of research about other competitors in this space, focusing on limited editions, also aggregators. And so I do think from a business marketing perspective that we have a good understanding of what's happening.
Yeah, cool. In terms of the environment and the things that, what we call the selective environment, things that are working directly against you, what do you think are the hardest factors that you've got to try and overcome?
Yes, so we compete with everyone who sells fashion. So H&M, big players in the industry, I guess, but also especially when we talk about online shopping, Amazon is going to be something we always have to keep in mind, and something we do keep in mind all the time already now, because they could implement one new thing and they would kill so many small businesses or new businesses starting to do something.
And the opposite to that, what we call the ecological environment, those factors that are present that you can use to your advantage, what do you see that you can tap into in that sense?
Yeah, so we can look at what other people have tried to do and and those facts, what the models that they have tried to bring to the market and work with designers, and how that might not have worked.
I suppose you've also got all those, hundreds of designers and manufacturers out there who need someone else to help them to run a business.
Yeah. So because we do help the designers, and because we want to get them to market, we want to help them create a sustainable business.
We get the students to think about this notion of value creation, but in conjunction with value capture. So there's not much point just creating value if you can't capture it.
Yeah.
And so the focus areas are the value chain, turning raw inputs into something of higher quality, value shop, process of using a set of resources in different ways to solve different problems for people, and then the value network, being able to sort of use networks like the internet to actually enable people who might not normally be able to communicate and transact with each other to find each other. So how do you see a combination of these things helping you to create and capture value?
Well, so because we, by having designers on our side, we help them get exposure and access to market. We are definitely creating value for them to create a sustainable business. And if we could have just some designers succeeding, then more than what it is now, because I think 9 out of 10, they don't make it as a designer because it's simply too hard. So the value and the pain point is really with the designer, and that's where the idea also came from. So for the customers, we have done a lot of research and found out what is it actually we want to match that with, and that is that customers can get something unique. And for the industry, if we capture the market or some of the market when it comes to emerging and independent labels, we could use that data and feedback to the industry, so it would be valuable on different levels. Yeah,
cool. We talk about coactions, and that is this way of thinking about how you can design sustainability in your business by not creating negative outcomes for too many other people. So are you thinking in that sense of, how do you create something where everyone potentially could be a winner? Are there some people that are likely to lose? Maybe not in the short term, but maybe if you succeed going forward.
So based on the experience I had and why the idea came up from this, showed that there was a gap in the market, and knowing the creative industries, there was a hidden market as well, and that was something that wasn't captured. So tapping into that and looking at and that's where our value proposition, if depending on what direction we go in and how the business looks, what it looks like in 10 years, the value proposition is huge. So the hard thing has actually been to just narrow it down and start small. But yeah, so established businesses, if we move into customization, custom made in the future, some established local businesses could miss out on customers, but still we would help new upcoming designers. So
great. In terms of your strategic positioning at the moment, do you see yourself as trying to act in that sort of short-term way versus trying to organise directly today for the long term? So you sort of see that balance between how you have to operate what we call an R strategy versus the K being the long term?
Yeah. So we just started in March, so everything is still fairly new, but we have been very aware of creating a global vision, and we have done that early, so we know what we are aiming towards and where we want to go. And then it's basically trying to then take everything apart and then start the most practical way to actually show that people are willing to buy from us.
Yeah, cool. And in terms of those people, are we looking for a sort of fairly specialised target market, or is this something that we want everyone in the world to know about in a general sense?
Yeah, so we have interviewed customers, we have interviewed designers. So even we're not a marketplace as such, because we want to have control as Alma and Bramble, we still need to nurture both sides. So we have found that if we think of paying customers and who it actually is that has to buy from us, we focus on the customer. We have found that the psychographics are important. So we've interviewed, I think, around 15 people, and then we've had some online service where maybe we have 80. And one thing people share across different age groups, different professions, people are different places in life, but the psychographics around online shopping is something that we are focusing on. So some of the most important factors are easy shipping, easy returns, so that could be free. Everything when it comes to shopping online from the first click just has to be easy.
Yep.
And therefore we have looked at, our customers, potential customers, they share the same psychographics, doesn't matter where they are in life, but the people who tend to buy most online, and this is probably the target group that we are going to attack. I think it's women I can check the numbers, but it's in the women from 31 to 35, from what we have looked at recently.
Yeah, cool. And the last question we always focus on is this issue of energy. So being able to recognise your inability to own or control something that can be of value to you if you can harness, its potentiality in your business. So is there some sources of potential energy that you can see on the horizon?
Yeah, so the trend I mentioned before, slow fashion, is definitely something that is happening around us and something we want to tap into. More people are also shopping online, and they're predicted to shop even more online in the future.
Yep.
So that's also something that we are aware of. And then also the technology that goes with that.
Yeah, lovely. All right, well, I'm very interested to see what our students can come up with you.
Me too.
And hopefully they come up with some compelling strategies.
Yep, sounds good.
Cool.
Thank you.